Shri L.S. Ganesh sir from IIT Madras, and he is closely associated with us. Actually, he spent his one semester with us, and he taught subjects for our MBA students also. We are very fortunate that we had a good relationship with him, and we were very fortunate to listen him for one semester at our campus. He's very generous, kind, and very humble person. I am very fortunate that I personally know him, and now I would like to officially introduce him with his what all he has done. And if I go on saying about his achievements, the time is not sufficient. I'll just give a brief introduction about him today. So Dr. L.S. Ganesh sir, he has graduated in 1977 in BE program in Mechanical Engineering of the Birla Institute of Technology and Science, BITS at BITS Pilani, Rajasthan. In 1979, he received the MTech degree in Maintenance Engineering and Management and a merit prize from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. During 1980 to 84, he pursued the doctoral research program in the Industrial Engineering and Management faculty at IIT Madras. His research work involved the application of time series forecasting models and system dynamics concepts to educational planning in Tamil Nadu schools. He received the PhD degree in 1986. He worked as an assistant professor in the education management sector at the IIT Bangalore during 1986-87. Since 1987, he worked in the Industrial Engineering and Management faculty at IIT Madras as assistant professor till 1993, then as associate professor till December 1996, and then as a professor until April 2004, when the Department of Management Studies was established in the institute. Later, he served as the head of the Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras from July 2004 till July 2008. In this role, he coordinated the location and development of the complete academic, laboratory, office, and utilities infrastructure for the new premises of the department. He also coordinated the establishment of strategic academic relationships through MOUs between IIT Madras and leading national and multinational educations, to name few: Indian School of Business at Hyderabad, Universities of Maniam, Passau, and Berlin in Germany, Management Center at Innsbruck in Austria, State University of New York, and business organizations like Caterpillar, LIC of India, Atroad Software, Scope International. Dr. Ganesh is also an accomplished rock, blues, and jazz vocalist and rhythm guitarist. In his student days, he won many prizes in music competitions, debates, and sports. Dr. Ganesh loves work, meditation, philosophy, music, and dreaming. He strongly believes that India and Indians have exceptional capabilities that require well directed and intensely focused organizational efforts to enable them to fully flow and result in inspiring, peerless, and timeless achievements. With this, I present Dr. L.S. Ganesh, sir. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Rashmi, and thanks to the Basaveshwar Engineering College at Bagalkot for having sought my inputs in this program. Actually, Dr. Rashmi had contacted me quite some time ago, and I believe the support for the program had come relatively recent. But I'm happy to be with all of you, and I would also suggest that given the topic of our discussions, where I will share my knowledge and experiences, and I hope to be of some use to all of you today uh, in your own settings. So please do share some of your knowledge and experiences. The reason I'm saying this is it's well established that peer learning is one of the finest forms of learning. Peer learning makes for effective learning. So there's a lot that we can receive, store in our minds and analyze, investigate later, and help us to also draw some inferences as we go along, but hopefully for larger good. Of course, I use the term larger good because that is a challenge for us individually and collectively as a country. Okay. Of course, in some instances, we are a direct party to the power and politics at play uh, in our organizations and even in our homes. I often share with friends that anyone who holds the view or states, shares with others that he or she does not play politics is a bloody liar. That is not feasible. The moment a human being is born normally, I'm not talking of abnormal births, okay? Of course, what is normal is under question. I'm not getting into the medical nuances of what is normal. We will work with whatever exists in our minds. Okay? Any human being, as the person is a child and then grows, I mean, a baby growing into a child and then growing into a young boy, a girl, and then a teenager, and then adolescent and adult, will necessarily play politics. You might wonder, do babies play politics? Yeah, they have their own ways, somewhat mysterious, but we have to understand them. We have to observe them very carefully before we understand what is the politics that they play. Obviously, all of us know that politics deals with our efforts to seek and sustain power and authority. So that's what we try to do in politics. How do we seek and sustain power for ourselves? Now, you can understand why I use the term larger good. Everybody has a right to seek and sustain power. There's nothing wrong with power and authority. What could become undesirable or sometimes in the extreme could become obnoxious is the way people use the power and authority. In my life, I've come across a few people, in fact, just a handful of people, who wielded power and authority with great sagacity, you know, with great control. And a majority of the cases I have come across, power and authority ruled the people. I think you understand what I'm saying. Okay. It was not otherwise. It's a very sad story. But that seems to be the dominant mode in the world we are living in. So the question for us, the question that we are confronted with is, are power and authority dominating us, or are we dominating power and authority? Are power and authority controlling us, or are we controlling power and authority? I'm sure all of you will have your own answers. It's very difficult for each other to read each other's minds. It's very difficult for us to do that. Um, Perhaps it's better that we don't read minds. Of course, we do make observations and make our inferences from those observations. Right or wrong is a different question. Okay, that only time will tell. Uh, that's why in India, I'm sure this is true in every language. Um, I'm not going to slip into Tamil here. I'm not sure how many of you would know Tamil, but I will definitely state it in English. That is why very wise people have stated, and I believe it started with Adi Shankara, according to whatever sources I have. What you see may not be true. What you hear may not be true. In fact, what he has stated is something like what you sense may not be true, because there are many truths beyond our senses. So our sight and ears could deceive us often, often. Okay. But based on that, we draw inferences and start acting. We take our actions, we make our decisions. Maybe right, maybe wrong. But where does politics come in? Politics comes in because very often those decisions and actions are in the pursuit of our convenience and comfort. This is a very important point. And you will see in some people, the ideas of convenience and comfort dominate their lives. And in some other people, in fact, many other people, the ideas of convenience and comfort are strongly linked to their pursuit of power and authority. So that's where the connection with politics happens. As I told you a little while ago, nobody can claim that he or she does not play politics. I repeat, anyone who states that is a bloody liar. It is not possible. It is impossible. Why? Ask yourself a question. Isn't there politics inside each one of us individually? I often joke, in the politics that happens between my tongue, my heart, my kidney, and my stomach and my liver, it's always or almost all the cases the tongue wins. I think you understand what I'm saying. Okay. I'm talking of food. Not only that, aren't we confronted with many situations where we pose a dilemma to ourselves? And don't we succumb to one alternative out of those possible solutions to the dilemma? Now, that's also power and authority. So there is politics inbuilt, genetically inbuilt in each one of us. I'm not even talking of interpersonal or organizational politics now. That comes a bit later. Yeah, that's important. So while we talk of politics, power and politics in organizations, we must understand that families are social organizations. When probably Rashmi floated the program, she must have thought about business and industrial organizations. I wish to use a more generic term, attach a generic meaning to the word organizations. By the way, Rashmi, are you recording this, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have to submit it to AICT.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll talk about power and politics in AICT also. I'm a direct witness to one or two cases. So we'll talk about that. I think it'll be fun, but it's all right. Because I believe in a particular type of politics. As I told you, I cannot escape politics. Nobody can. But I play politics of a particular kind, which is, I think, important. Okay. So there are four contexts in life for every human being. And politics is played in all these four contexts. The first context of life in which politics and authority become power and politics become or power and authority become relevant is me alone. I am alone with myself. I'm not relating to anything else in the universe around me or in nature around me. So me alone. As I explained to you just now, a little while ago, there is politics inside me. And I gave you an instance how the tongue wins over the stomach, the kidney, the liver, and the heart very often. In fact, the tongue controls the brain. It's not the other way around. So when you finish, I'm a diabetic, and just the day before yesterday, I had been to a wedding and a reception of one of my friends, a very good classmate of mine from school, his daughter's wedding, and I succumbed to ice cream. I said, okay, I convinced myself this is my cheat day. Otherwise, I try to take care of my diet, because of what happened to me due to the diabetes. Okay. Anyway, that's a different story. Sometimes the brain starts controlling the tongue because it receives pain from some other part of the body, isn't it? So that part appeals to the brain as the master. Master, what are you going to do about me and my pain? Aren't you going to control this rascal called the tongue? That guy is the root cause of much of my troubles. So me alone. The second context of life for all of us, for any human being, is me in my family. That means I am with my family, my parents, my grandparents, my children, my uncles, aunts, neighbors, etc. with me. I'm interacting with them. I'm not alone. Okay, I'm interacting with them. The third context of life in which power and politics come into play, power and authority particularly. I told you politics is the body of knowledge dealing with how people pursue power and authority. They seek and sustain power and authority, especially in large communities or large societies. When we talk of politics, I'm not sure how many authors touch upon the individual politics within a single human being. I don't know is the right answer. Maybe somebody has written about it, maybe, or maybe many have written and I am ignorant. The third context of life is me at work. Okay, I am with my colleagues, my peers, my superiors, my subordinates, and my supply chain partners in an organizational sense. Whether I am in a B2B business or a B2C or a B2G or whatever as they call it, I mean, there are so many things which with two in the middle right now. Independent of the business, whether I'm a products-based business or a services-based business, the point is I'm with my colleagues, my peers, my superiors, my subordinates, and my stakeholders, particularly supply chain partners, my customers also. The fourth setting, which is very important, other than the three which I've talked about, me alone, me at home, and me at work. The fourth context is me in public. I'm out in the public. Okay. So if it's Bagalkot, I'm out in a restaurant in Bagalkot. No, I don't know. I think it's Hari Priya restaurant or something like that, if I remember right. I'm out in a restaurant. I'm in public. If I'm in Chennai, I'm in the beach or I'm in a mall. I'm in public. And what we should recognize in public is that we are being watched, whether we like it or not. Somebody could be watching us. We don't know that. But unlike home and work, where we are either with our families and neighbors or with our colleagues and partners, in public we are among strangers, or most of them could be strangers. Maybe there are people whom we might know, who might recognize us uh, just because they see us. This could happen in the beach or a mall or wherever, a theater or anywhere, just on the street. You're walking in the market. All these places are public spaces. So these are the four contexts which are relevant to our discussions on power and authority. In short, politics, which is nothing but the body of knowledge dealing with the seeking of power and authority and sustaining it. Of course, at the national level, we are all, as citizens of our great country, we are all given an option of voting once in 5 years to settle political issues. And of course, we can observe that different political parties and their members, the candidates, desperately seek power and authority. I'm sure you all agree with the word desperately. It's visible. They might do it in sophisticated ways. That's a different point. They might do it very decently. But it is a fact that they desperately seek power and authority. And those who win enjoy it. Those who lose do everything possible to seek it again, in the next elections. Everywhere. It's not just the general elections, it's even for positions. I'm sure that there is enough politics being played to become the chairman or the vice chairman or the member secretary of AICT. I'm very sure of this. Okay, they cannot deny it. I'm sure the same is the case with UGC. I'm sure the same is the case with becoming a vice chancellor or something. The question is, what type of politics are people playing? Okay, that is the question. And I think it's high time that we in academia address this question in our context of work, power and politics in our institutions particularly. Okay? That should be of particular interest to us. By the way, my intention is not to disparage anybody or to blame anybody. That's not my intention at all. You can be sure about that. Okay, I'm not blaming, I'm not disparaging, I'm not casting my evil eye on anybody. No. I'm only sharing with you the truth as I see it. Okay. And I agree, I may be right, I may be wrong, because I'm an ordinary human being. I am susceptible to all the faults that any one of you are susceptible to. Maybe you're stronger than me in many ways. Maybe there are a few ways in which I may be stronger than you, but that doesn't mean much. Ultimately, we are simple, common human beings living within the four contexts of our lives: alone, home, work, public. Okay. I just defined the politics as the body of knowledge dealing with the study of how individuals and groups or parties seek power and authority and attempt to sustain power and authority. This is where we are. I just want to find out. There is one participant, Dr. Deepika, who has her hand raised. Is there any question or something that I should answer? Please. Rashmi, can you check Dr. Deepika's hand has been raised for quite some time?
Yes, sir. I'll just unmute her.
Yeah. No. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe she. You can also check. Dr. Deepika, are you there, please? If yes, could you?
Deepika, you can just unmute yourself and you can speak if you have any questions or doubts.
Because her hand is raised. I think you can also see that.
Yes. Maybe my mistake, it might have happened, sir.
No problem. No problem.
Yes.
Then you can just, if possible, from your control, see whether you can take the hand off.
Yes. Actually, yeah, it is not possible, sir.
Okay. Only the
Yeah.
concerned person should do that. Is it?
Sir, I have done that. Yeah, the option
Oh,
is there.
great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
great. I mean, MS Teams give you sufficient controls, Rashmi. Okay.
More number of options are there, sir. Yet we are
Yeah.
learning. Yeah.
I know. That's
Yes.
very good. That's very good. Okay. I'm saying, as I told you, I would request our participants to share their knowledge and experiences also. Please. I told you, I gave you a reason, I gave you a good justification. Peer learning is the best form of learning known so far. Okay. Now, there are four types of politics that people can play. Okay. What are these four types? I hope you're taking your notes. Okay? The first type is what is called good politics. Okay? First type is called good politics. The second type is called bad politics. The third type is called ugly politics. And the fourth type is called evil politics. Okay. So I hope all of you have understood this. Good politics, bad politics, ugly politics, and evil politics. Okay. Those are all the types of politics that people play. Okay. Now, what is good politics? Good politics is based on the principles of truth, transparency, and trust. Okay. When I base my interactions, when I base my interactions with others at home or at work, or even in public, and when I base those interactions on truth and transparency and trust, I'm playing good politics. Of course, please do not forget that I am talking of the seeking of power and authority in my political game. So when I seek power and authority or play politics honorably in terms of truth, transparency and trust, I am playing good politics. Nothing wrong. It's all right. Transparency ensures that everybody knows what others are doing. Okay, this is very important. Now, one may question the practicality of transparency and the implications of transparency. And I can assure you that transparency is practically possible. Evidence, I'm sure you will agree with me that every one of you is transparent to somebody else, depending on, and the extent of transparency would depend on in what context and to what extent you relate with the other party. I hope you agree with me. Like if it's my parents, I've been absolutely transparent. If it's my wife, I've been absolutely transparent. If it's my daughters, I'd say I'm 95% transparent. If it's my sons-in-law, I'd say I'm 90% transparent. If it's my very close friends, I'd say I'm 95% transparent. If it's my next circle of friends, I'd say I'm 90% transparent. So in short, I'm telling you that it may not be feasible to be 100% transparent to everybody. Very, very difficult. For another reason, sometimes you may not even realize whether you're being transparent or not. I haven't. When I reflect back, I can identify situations where I know that I was not transparent when I should have been transparent. So I'm also, I accuse myself of breaching this principle on certain occasions. The question is, did I breach it deliberately and purposively? My answer is yes, but they were very few and far between in my life. And I can assure you from my own experiences, among my circle of colleagues and friends, a vast majority hates me for the transparency. In fact, some of my acquaintances who became, I would tell you this much, that even my worst antagonist would state that this guy is transparent to a fault. Okay, I've not hidden things. I've been upfront, in the face, at the throat, and that hurts. But I didn't mind the hurt, because the hurt of not being transparent would have been worse for me. But that's the way I have been made. Perhaps that's my destiny. That's the way I've been made. I'm sure every one of you has a personality. This has been my personality. And I've told you, it's not that I'm fully transparent. No, I'm largely transparent. I could afford that because of one reason. I'm also narrating something. I could afford that because of one reason. I've not been a selfish person. I've definitely been a self-concerned person, but not a selfish person. As I always say, my dear friends, please note, using our Indian tenets of human life, we all know that the fundamental principle governing our lives is the principle of dharma. We all know dharma has been defined as that quality of nature which enables nature to be the way it is, which enables nature to sustain, that quality of nature that upholds the universe. You can check definitions and you'll find them very similar to what I've shared now. Okay. So dharma is the fundamental principle. And it's a very big struggle to be dharmic in our modern world. And dharmic people get affected very badly. A book written by one of the famous authors. I'm not getting the name right now. Maybe one of you will recall. I'm not getting the name immediately. Okay. Who was the person who wrote The Argumentative Indian? Has anybody come across that book, The Argumentative Indian? Can you just name the author, please? You can even, yeah.
Sir, is it
Gurcharan Das? Gurcharan Das, correct? Yeah, I think it was Gurcharan Das. I think Sharmila joined in. Sharmila, am I right? Yeah, I think it was Gurcharan Das. Okay, great. The same person wrote another book called The Difficulty of Being Good. Okay, I'm sure that he has touched upon many examples. You know, today, good people, basically good people who have the larger good in mind, the welfare of the larger set of people and the planet, who have the triple bottom line in their minds, people, planet, and profits, are generally considered people who don't know how to lead their lives.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I think the Argumentative Indian is being written by Amartya Sen.
I'm sorry. That means
Amritya Sen.
I have made a mistake. Thank you for pointing out, sir. I made a mistake. I agree. It is Amartya Sen. I
Thank
think
you, sir.
my mind was muddled a bit.
No
I think
issues, sir.
Gurcharan Das wrote another very great book. Something. I mean, but he wrote this book, if I'm not mistaken, The Difficulty of Being Good. Or am I making a mistake there also? You can check and please confirm and tell me.
Sir Ganesh sir,
Yes, please.
Gurcharan Das has written India Unbound.
India Unbound, correct. That's correct. He has written 3 or 4 books, if I'm not mistaken. Sanjay, thank you, Sanjay. Yes, Gurcharan
India
Das.
grows at night, sir.
India grows at night. That word night was crossing my mind, but
Yes.
I couldn't remember the full title. But I think you can check. He has written this Difficulty of Being Good also.
I just
Yes.
googled. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right, sir.
Right.
Okay. Okay, good. If possible, try to browse through that book. You'll find some interesting examples.
Excellent book for social revolution in India, sir. All these books.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people read and see some meaning in them. And,
Excellent books.
Yeah.
Wisdom, full of wisdom.
But the problem is we pay greater attention to intelligence than wisdom, Sanjay.
Sir,
Yes,
I
please.
have to share something. I mean, people may read the book, but the implementation part is difficult, I feel.
Correct, Sharmila. It is correct. I agree. Now, that is where the inner politics in the individual starts playing a role, Sharmila. That's where the inner politics becomes important. I did tell you, we are caught by conflicting value systems in our minds. That's the truth of our lives. That's the truth of our lives. The question
Sir,
is,
if we become true to ourselves only, then also we can get rid of some politics, I think.
yeah. As Sharmila, I told you, you can never get rid of politics, Sharmila. I think I shared that with you. It's not possible for any normal human being. It's not possible. You have to live with politics. There's no other go. Yeah.
We have to dodge and navigate our way. We can't uproot it.
Yeah. Correct, Sanjay. That's why I talked of good politics, Sanjay. You can play, everybody can play good politics, but in our modern context, Sanjay, you'll be called a fool when you start playing good politics.
Sir, agree, 100%.
Yeah. And in Tamil, they say, if I may use the Tamil word, it was very good. They say, "Pazhakka theriyadhavan." That means the guy doesn't know how to survive, So that's what happens. But that's okay. That's okay, because ultimately we all are answerable to our conscience, and hopefully we have one. I'm stating this because I've come across instances where people, sort of take away their conscience, and completely smother it or keep it under wraps, little realizing that much later in life, at the moment of death, it will come like a ghost before them and haunt them. How do I know? Well, many people have written about that. That's how I know. Not that people have experienced that, but people who are great people, who are great saints, have written that ultimately one day your inner voice will come and face you. Why? Because that inner voice is the voice of eternity lying inside you, what we call the voice of God inside you. Okay, if you believe in God. I don't know whether God is there or not in the forms that we believe in. My answer is I don't know, but I believe, yes, there's definitely rules of the universe which we can directly observe and validate. Nobody can say no to this. Even the die-hard atheist cannot, or rationalist cannot deny the existence of rules in front of us every moment of our lives. And I challenge any rationalist or atheist anywhere, anytime to a debate on this. And these rules are coordinated. We can see the coordination also. And that is evidence that there is a coordinating rule or whatever there are. There are coordinating principles and rules. You don't need better evidence than that. And people who don't recognize this are people who are feigning to sleep, who are pretending to sleep. You can never wake them up. It's not possible. But one day, their voice will also rise in front. But that's okay. That doesn't matter. Because that's their right to live the way they want. It's my right to live the way I want. The point is this: it's tied up strongly with our institutions and our education, which we will discuss. So I want all of you to recognize that you can never, as Sanjay said, you cannot uproot politics. It's not possible. You cannot eliminate politics. You have to live with it. But as Sharmila said, or Sanjay said, you have to sort of see how you can navigate through the politics for larger good. For larger good. This is where the challenge comes. How many of us can have an orientation for larger good? Okay. So this is connected with a very important concept. But I will keep to my definitions. I just told you, good politics is based on truth, the principles of truthfulness, transparency, and trust. Okay. And please understand, being transparent is in your hands, and being truthful is in your hands. And as I told you some time ago, it will hurt. There is no way you will not be hurt. The question is your inner strength sufficient for you to take that hurt? Now, that's a question only you can answer. Nobody else can answer that for you. It is not possible. Okay. So you have to ask the question, do I have enough inner strength? If I may use college language, IIT Madras language, do you have enough strength, inner strength to take all the shit and crap around you? Okay. That only you can answer. Okay. I'm not going to answer for you. I cannot. Bad politics is based on the principles of silence, non-cooperation, and self-interest. Not selfishness, but self-interest. That means not larger good, but individual good. I hope you got it. So you can take a note. Bad politics is based on silence, non-cooperation, and self-interest, not larger good. Now, some people can interpret what I have stated, that didn't Mahatma Gandhi play non-cooperation and self-interest in the Indian community? Well, self-interest doesn't mean only individual, it's also society related. Yeah, but I think he himself has written so much in his My Experiments with Truth about the principle of transparency and the need to trust and be truthful. I don't need to say anything more. Here is a person who has experimented with himself and his life. And of course, he paid the price. That's a different point. I'm not interested in who killed him, etc. here. That's not a concern for us here. But it was a pursuit of power and authority that propelled certain people, including Mahatma Gandhi. But Mahatma Gandhi had larger good in his heart. That is why he didn't proclaim himself as the leader. If I'm not mistaken, that great soul had even said, please disband the Congress. It's not the way things are. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, I've even heard about Rajaji having similar ideas. I've heard from other people. I've not read Rajaji, but I've heard from people that things are going to go in the direction we are experiencing right now. I think those people foresaw what was going to happen. Perhaps even Dr. Ambedkar foresaw to a certain extent what was likely to happen. Okay, in his intelligence and wisdom, he saw that. Maybe these are true. These are very great people. We are all very simple people. We are ordinary human beings. But the point is, I believe, I wish to believe, and I believe they're all people with larger good in their hearts, intentions, and minds. This, I think, is difficult to deny, very difficult to debate. They had larger good. So that's where they won. And they were, I think, truthful, and they were transparent to a very large extent. Very large extent. I mean, perhaps not transparent to a foolish extent or transparent to a fault, but they were transparent in a public context. Please understand. Their context of life was public. And I even now, I keep saying Mahatma Gandhi became Mahatma Gandhi thanks to Kasturba Gandhi. I'm sure if he had a different wife, his life may have been very different, may have been very different. I don't know. God knows what it would have been. We don't. But we must acknowledge the fantastic supportive role of the lady. We cannot underplay that role. And all of us know that in his private context, me at home, Mahatma Gandhi was a miserable failure. Miserable failure. You know what all happened in the case of one of his sons, who I believe even filed a case against him. So all sorts of things are happening. Okay. Maybe that's destiny for those souls. But bad politics is what I told you. The politics of silence. Silence means I won't speak when I should speak. I choose not to speak. Why? Because individual good, self-interest. I'll get hurt. I don't have enough inner strength to take the hurt. So in my pursuit of power and politics, power and authority, I'll keep silent. That's bad politics. And I'm sure all of you here will agree that that dominates our society. It dominates our society at home, at work, and in public. This is a tragedy of, at least I can talk of our country. It's a tragedy of our country because we play very heavy bad politics. Large scale, across homes, across institutions, across organizations, including government, including AICT. Okay. I'm not marking AICT, it's an AICTE program, but I thought it's important that they know where they are. As a resource person, it's my duty and responsibility to point out, guys, you may have to change. I've also been hurt. You go, I mean, it's very strange how things have happened. Very strange. We go as an expert committee member. I'm taking you back many years, not now. It's not fair on my part to comment now because I've not been involved much. And I'm sure for what I say, AICT will stay light years away from me, but that's okay. I have enough strength to bear that kind of nonsense because it's okay. You go as an expert committee member, you find a college not good enough for approval of its MBA program, you put it in your report, and a few months later, the college is running its MBA program. And the chairman comes and shakes hands and says, how are you? Now, what do? I'm taking you back many years, not now. Now, we all know what game would have been played there. It's nobody's intelligence needed here. Okay. But that's okay. That we are part of that society. We know how to move on. We've all moved on. I've moved on. It's many years now. And I'm on record. Please understand this. I'm on record. That's as transparent to a fault I can be. Okay. Fine. Ugly politics. Now, what is ugly politics? Ugly politics is there visible. It is open. There is transparency of the politics, but it's ugly because it's based on direct, open, vicious attacks. Okay. There's no holds barred. I say, I mean, let's say I have a friend. I hear in this case, I will use my friend Sanjay Anji. Sanjay is a good friend in BEC Bagalkot, just for illustration. Okay. It's only for example I'm saying. Suppose I want to play ugly politics with Sanjay. I tell Sanjay, I'm going to hurt you. And I'm going to hurt you. There's no The only thing is I won't deceive you and I'll hurt you. I'll do everything possible to hurt you. It's almost like a tough game, you know. That's ugly politics. So people are going at each other's throats directly, openly, you know. So that's ugly politics. And I'm sure we are seeing a lot of that. Yeah.
And hope this hurt churns me well, sir.
Oh, Sanjay, you are sitting there, huh?
I'm there.
I'm sorry. It said
No, no.
Sanjay. It said Sanjay Deshpande. So I couldn't connect Sanjay. But by the way, hope you and family are doing fine. Your son is doing fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great, Sanjay. Very nice to hear your voice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But I'm sure every one of you participants has witnessed ugly politics around you in your institutions. It's open. Nothing, no love lost, as they say, you know. It's open and direct. So there is something good about ugly politics that way. What is bad is if it escalates, it could become really nasty. That's why it's ugly. Okay. Now, what is evil politics? Evil politics is the worst of its kind. It is based on deceit, deceiving people, stabbing in the back, subterfuge, skullduggery, as you can call it. You know, these are all part and parcel of betrayal of trust. You make somebody trust you, embrace them only to stab them in the back. You know, I just say, Sanjay mere bhai, aao mere dost, and to have a knife in my right hand and stab him in the back when he's not knowing what's going to happen. Now, that's evil politics. Why? Because the other party is trusting me and I'm betraying the trust. Now, that is evil. Does that happen? I leave it to you to judge whether that happens. I know it happens. I have directly suffered from that, but I'm not going to give examples. I've directly suffered from that. But it's okay. We have to move on. And here, that doesn't mean you breach your trust. Just because somebody played evil politics with me, I'm not going to lower my trust levels in people in general. I have to be more guarded. I agree. It just means that I have to be more guarded because it's difficult. That kind of hurt is very difficult. It's painful. It's difficult. But you have to live with it and move on. Because it's your right to live. It's your right to live with dignity and honor. And my dear friends, I want you to understand the uppermost principle in human context, other than dharma, is shanti. We have to live with peace inside us and with each other. Peace is perhaps the most important principle in the pursuit of dharma. Please understand this. In our own mythology, we all know Mahabharata war was waged for long-term peace. So we have a lesson that you can even wage a war to have peace. And don't forget, in fact, I want to share because I at least recall one name among the participants, which I will, with the permission, I will quote here. Just give me a minute and I'll come through. I think, wait, am I missing something? Yes, I see Uzam Sahib, Uzam Hafiz. You know, Uzam sir, I'm sharing something with you. I had a student called Nadeem, whom I became good friends. And one day I asked him, Nadeem and I were good friends. As a teacher, I was the HOD at that time. I liked the boy. He was a serious intellectual. I asked Nadeem, can you explain to me the concept of jihad? Okay, because this is a term everybody is worried about today, in India at least. You know, everybody is worried about, especially in Jammu and Kashmir and related areas. But it's a word that's confronting almost every person professing Islam, because unnecessarily a whole community is being blamed for the stupid acts of a handful of people. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. You must not do that. Okay. In fact, I told you I went for a wedding and went for the ice cream. It was a classmate of mine who is a Muslim by professing Islam. But we are very good friends. Ultimately, don't forget, sir, before we are born and at the time of birth, we are not branded as this or that. We are only branded as human creature. This is the truth of life. Nobody can deny that. So there are lots of issues. And Nadeem gave me a fantastic answer. He said, sir, my understanding of jihad, in fact, he gave me 2 wonderful CDs of the Quran and their translations. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And he said, sir, jihad actually means, in my understanding, he was talking of his understanding, inner war, war within yourself, war with yourself, against yourself, for yourself. I thought that was brilliant politics. Do you have the courage to wage that inner war? Is the question. How many of us have that courage to wage that inner war inside us? For us, by us, with us, against us. I thought that was the ultimate game anybody can play in nature and human life. I can't think of a better game. Fine. So this is where we are. So I've talked about good politics based on truth, transparency, and trust. Bad politics based on silence, non-cooperation, and self-interest. Okay. And ugly politics based on what you call direct confrontation, nastiness, okay, and openness. It is transparent, it's open, okay. Everybody knows what's happening. Whole world knows. There's no secret. You know, A doesn't like B and B doesn't like A, and they'll go at each other's throats whenever the chance comes. That's ugly. In their pursuit of power and authority. Please understand this. And it all shows. In fact, much of our national politics is ugly, if you ask me, with some amount of evil and much of bad sprinkled on it. Because I'm sure all of us are able to recognize, we are all intelligent people, intelligent enough to observe what's happening. There is definitely evil also going on. Betrayal of trust, all this happens. Otherwise, you can't be a modern politician, nowadays. It's very difficult. Okay. Evil politics based on deceit, subterfuge, cunningness, and skullduggery, as they call it. The question is, what politics do we want to play? Good, bad, ugly, or evil? And I told you, the inner debate within us has to concern, are we strong enough to bear with the consequences of playing good politics? Are we good enough? Are we strong enough to bear the consequence of playing bad politics? Because every type of politics which is by definition unavoidable, not uprootable, as Sanjay had said, you cannot eliminate it. The question is, to what extent can you bear? Now here I'm going to share some answers with you. Okay. Is it possible to gather inner strength? My dear friends, yes, it is eminently possible to gather inner strength. Okay. It's eminently possible. We can. There are some practices you have to go through. It's an experiment with yourself. And please don't forget, I always say, and this truth I think all of you will recognize. You are the experimenter. You are the experimental process. You are the experimental apparatus. You are the experimental readings. You are the experimental results. You are the experimental report. My dear friends, we are the experiment. Okay. Our life is an experiment. And we are given opportunities because we are all given free will. And our destiny is dominated by an uncanny, intriguing combination of free will and fate. This is the truth. Nobody can deny this. Everybody is influenced by a combination. Everybody's destiny is influenced by a combination of free will and fate. I always distinguish. Suppose you do go and share some of what I've said with people in your home or your friends, somebody may question you and ask, what do you mean by free will and fate? Well, here's an answer. Waking up after a good night's sleep is free will. Is fate. Getting up from the bed is free will. I hope you got it. I hope you have the understanding now. Waking up is fate, nature. Getting up is free will, because you need a lot of free will. And our lives are an intriguing combination of fate and free will. Our destinies are made by that. That is why we use the term karma, karmic consequences of our actions. That is why we talk of concepts like, can you be detached from your actions? Detached from the fruits of your actions? Can you act with only pure intentions? Because when you do that, certainly according to our belief systems, you do get a lot of good karma. Okay. So our belief is whatever happens in our lives is a combination of those karmas, Prarabdha karma, Sanchita karma, Agami karma, and so on. I think there's one more. There are 4. I forget the last guy. So karmic consequences are important. Not only this, in all languages we say, as you sow, so you reap. Jaise karni, vaisi bharni. Vidai vidai tavan, vinay arupan. Sanjay, what's it in Kannada? Sanjay or Rashmi?
Sir,
What's it in Kannada?
sorry.
What is the translation in Kannada? As you sow, so you reap. Jaisi karni, vaisi bharni.
ನೀವೇನ್ ಬಿತ್ತೀರಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅದೇ ಸಿಗ್ತೈತಿ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
Thank you. Okay. I can understand that much of Kannada. Thank you very much. I hope it's true. I hope it's true. We all bear the consequences of our actions. That is why here is a good principle which my father shared with me actually. Okay. Pure intentions, noble heart, truthful mouth, tongue, basically. Move on. This is a very good principle for us to work. Am I clear? Am I clear, please? Pure intentions, noble heart, and what did I say? Truthful tongue. This is a set of good principles that we can live by and make the world a peaceful world. And all my friends, please understand, you cannot have peace without dignity and honor. It is not possible. Never take away somebody else's dignity and honor. If you do that, peace is not possible. And I can tell you, while playing this game, which I told you, of being of good politics, you might really end up hurting somebody's dignity and honor unintentionally. You may not intend hurting dignity and honor of somebody, but the point is this: in all our communications and actions, we are concerned with how the other party is going to receive our communications and actions. Please note, even when you're not communicating explicitly, your signal is being received by somebody else. You cannot deny that. So even the silence of bad politics is being observed, is being seen, is being understood. So you can't say just because I'm silent, people are going to interpret it the way I want. Sorry, interpretation is not in our hands. It is in the other person's hands. Please understand this. I'm sharing something personal. Once, again, some years ago, when I was in a conversation with my wife, I suggested that she study a particular course, out of genuine interest towards her. I know I was very genuine when I suggested it. She thought something else. She interpreted it completely differently. So politics at home, she interpreted it completely differently. I think some of our BEC friends would have also met my wife when I brought her there. Okay. And she said, are you suggesting that you study because you want to see less of me? Now, what do I do with that kind of an interpretation? That was just not even in my dreams. I wish to see more of her as often as I can. But you can't do anything if somebody interprets that way. Now, what the hell do you do? Tell me. if if she interprets it as you want to see less of me, my God. Then I said, no, it's not so. And she kept on, and the argument became very big. And we were not talking to each other for a day or two after that. But that happens in families. The point is, we are mature enough to be truthful enough and understand that, okay, it's just a passing cloud. We'll move on. We have greater things to do in life, isn't it? Like taking care of our children the best way we can. So that's where the good politics also happens. So please note, my dear friends, now you understand I've given you one more reason why you cannot avoid politics. Because you might be sending a very noble signal to somebody else, and you don't know how the hell they are going to interpret that signal. You don't know. And they, for all you know, they may be interpreting it in quite the opposite way to what you intended. And politics starts, So this can also happen. That is why we say what you see is not true, what you hear is not true. That which is possibly true is that which you seek to understand, analyze, interpret correctly. Only then you are asymptotically closer to the truth. This is the truth of life. This is the truth of politics. Now, politics in our institutions, how do we play? It's very simple. The simplest happens at the department level, everywhere. If I am the head of the department and I don't like somebody, I see to it that person doesn't get the courses he or she would like to teach. Simplest example I'm giving. Have I done that? Never. I can tell you, even my adversaries on a couple of occasions have openly stated this openly in public. LSG, you're a person with a very large heart. I know I'm a person with a large heart, so many of you can stab it sufficiently. So that's the way I live. It's okay. It's okay. I have my life. I have my dignity and honor. I have my conscience to live with. I'm not living somebody else's life. So you want to hurt me, hurt me. It's okay. I'm not going to duck, because for me, being truthful and transparent is far more important than protecting my behind. That's far more important. Okay. So this is where we are. So can you do this? Yes, you can gather inner strength. You can work with yourself. I told you, you are the experiment. So what you do is your business. Can we change? Can we change overnight? Sorry, you cannot change overnight. Was I like this earlier on? Well, to a large extent, yes. I began becoming very strong and being very open and as truthful as I could only from my undergraduate days. I don't think I was like that at school or during my pre-university. I'm giving you a self-analysis because the best critique is the critique of yourself. I hope you agree, because I have every right to criticize myself, adversely criticize myself. That's why I'm stating this. Okay. Have I lowered the dignity and honor of somebody intentionally? No, never done that. Unintentionally, yes, many times. But I discovered that very late. Because at that time, I just want to accomplish certain things, certain situations I want to realize. So I make my moves. And then I realize much later, yeah, I must have made a mistake. I think I did harm that person without intentions. Okay. Do I try to make amends? Yes, I've genuinely tried to make amends. Did other people respond the same way? Quite often, yes, but sometimes no, because they're unwilling to accept somebody making amends. I mean, my hurting them has become unforgivable for a handful of people. Okay, but I think my doing something was correct. Okay, let me give specific examples, not of names, but I'm giving you examples so that you understand. I know instances of where a person who likes to take a course was not given that course by some HOD, but I was witness. Did I intervene? I tried to intervene. Did I do my duty in intervening? Yes, I did my duty in intervening. Did I succeed? No, I did not succeed. Because the HOD is the HOD. You can't do a damn. Okay. In fact, very interestingly, I'm stating, I have faced the brunt sometimes. Courses which I've been teaching for donkey's years have simply been taken away, quietly been taken away. And the best part is, I find that guest faculty come and teach the courses, the same course. So there is a resource under your nose, a proven resource, proven by any yardstick, no debate on that. Okay. But you replace and bring a guest faculty. Why? Because ugly politics, cussedness, cussedness, cussedness. This is what happens in our institutions. You may be number one in India, but it's the same shit you're made of. Okay. So I am pointing this out on record. Okay. And I hope somebody will view this someday and understand what kind of politics they're playing. Okay. Another kind. I hope all of you agree that in our country, whistleblowers.
Yes, sir. Agreed. 100% agreed.
Who is this? Archana. Yeah. Okay, Archana.
Sharmila, sir. Sharmila.
Oh, Sharmila. Here I'm seeing something else. Okay. The blue ring came in Archana's circle, not in yours. That's why. Thank you, Sharmila. Okay. I'm sure many people are silently agreeing here. Yes, Ganesh is talking about what's happening around us. And you assign work that the person may not like to do. There's another what you call as type of ugly politics. Not evil politics, ugly politics. Because both parties will know that I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't like me. Okay. So this is what happens. I was about to share with you that in our country, please understand that whistleblowers are considered more dangerous than the actual violators. I'm sure all of you have seen evidence of this over several years. In our country, whistleblowers are killed. I'm sure all of you know Manjunath case in UP. Okay.
Yes, sir. Napoleon had said silence of good people is more dangerous than violence of bad people.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. The silence of the good is worse than the actions of the enemy, as they say. But silence is bad politics, Sharmila. And that's very dominant. That's the modal politics. That's the mode of the distribution. All of us know nominal value distributions. So you have good, bad, ugly, and evil on the x-axis, and you have frequency on the y-axis. Bad will be the
Excuse
mode.
me, sir.
Yes, please.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, is it good to remain silent in the organization or outside organization, because we are having a threat? Because of threat, we can't speak a word. We can't say a word. Is that good?
Yeah, I understand. I think it's Sabia who has stopped now. Am I right? Yeah.
But by not saying.
Yeah. Hello. I lost your voice. I lost your voice for a few seconds. For maybe a couple of seconds, I lost your voice. But
sorry, sir, we are having a connecting problem here. Yeah. Our net is not good here, working not good.
Okay.
Sir, I want to see you. Is this good to remain silent, not to speak a word, not to say anything against the system, against the organization?
No. Yeah.
Because of having this thing in mind that I may be killed by someone, or someone will hurt me, or I may not be get promoted.
Okay.
So I am saying it, but our conscience, that is not allowing us, but still we are silent.
No, the conscience doesn't say don't do this. I mean, you are mistaken. It's our mind talking to us, because generally conscience The compass of conscience points to truth in general. This is well known. If conscience is a compass, it will point to truth actually. Okay, but the compass of conscience also has another dimension called wisdom, larger good. Now here you have to bring in the aspect of time. Over what period of time do you want to realize larger good? Do you want it instantly? Because that's where wisdom comes in. Because again, we all know many stories where silence is wisdom. Okay, not speaking at a particular point in time is wisdom, but the intention is not to be silent forever. I hope you got it. That's not the intention. The intention is I'm being silent for larger good. Okay, now can we define larger good? Yes, we can. We can define larger good. I'll give you an example. I'm sure many of you have flown in an aircraft. Many of you would have traveled in a flight, Indigo, Air India, a SpiceJet, whatever. Okay, or earlier Deccan Airways, or when Kingfisher was operating Kingfisher, you would have gone in a flight. Can you tell me what is the instruction the staff will give concerning the oxygen mask? Can anybody share, please? What is the instruction that the staff will give you? Typically, the air hostess will give you. Yeah, don't tell me nobody has gone in an aircraft. I'm not going to trust you. Yeah, please tell me.
Sir, will you come again? There is a voice problem. I couldn't hear you properly.
Oh, you couldn't. Can I? Okay. I was asking the question. Those of you, or perhaps all of you, would have taken a flight from one place to another within the country or outside the country. Okay. What is the instruction that the flight staff will give concerning the oxygen mask?
Yes, sir. They give us the instructions regarding that if something will happen in the aircraft, how you will save yourself. They are suggesting us how to lift the air mask, oxygen mask, how to tie your belt and other things.
Yes. Okay. One more thing. I think Sabia talked now. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's me.
Okay. Now this is important because Sabia, they would have told you one more thing. First, put the mask on yourself, become comfortable, and then use the mask on your child.
Exactly.
Am I right or wrong?
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
Now, that is larger good. I hope you got it. They never told you put it on your child first and then put it on yourself. They didn't tell you that. Okay. There is a good reason for that. Because please understand, first stabilize yourself, strengthen yourself. Ensure that your probability of failure is low. Then you work for collective good. Am I clear, Sabia?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This
Yes,
is
sir.
the principle, Sabia. This is the principle. First, ensure that you are stable and you are strong, and that the risk of your not surviving is very low, very low. Then you can start helping others. Now, but this needs courage. This needs tremendous courage, actually. Okay. Now you can understand. Where did I get that kind of inner courage? Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Again, I'm giving you my example because this is the best self-critique I can give myself. Okay. I know I am a good teacher. Many people have told me that. I have evidence also. Because in the Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, they had some kind of a scheme, 2017. I had a communication formally from Administrative Staff College, which was running the competition for Government of India and MHRD, that I was in the top 52 teachers in India, which I'm very grateful to God for that status. That is something that has been given to me to be of value to others with my knowledge and experiences. So the game I play while I teach is, am I valuable to others? Am I speaking the truth? Am I helping them gather their stability and strength? This is the question that dominates my mind. And this is the game I have played. I know I am among the good researchers around. My track record will speak for itself. But things happen. Okay? But things happen. But I have to move on. That is that inner strength. So even when I know that I'm stable and strong, people will hurt. People will play evil politics, stabbing in the back. You can't do a damn about it. I can't do a damn about it. People are cussed. I can't do a damn about it. What is it that I can do? I can share with participants like you. You don't do it in your circumstances. I keep talking to students very often. Fortunately, I served as the Dean of Students of IIT Madras for about 2 years plus, 2 years and 8 or 9 months. So my interaction with students was very rich even before that, for whatever reasons they are. I'm always fond of students. I've interacted very honestly with them, up front, up in the face, no deceiving anybody, no bullshit, if I want to put it that way. And that has benefited me a lot in many ways. Okay. And several students have also told me directly or indirectly, LSG sir, we really admire what you're doing. I say thank you, but it's not for me. But I believe that our education system has to change a lot in terms of these qualities. I may not be a benchmark, but I'm definitely not a bad example. I'll put it that way. Yes, in some ways, I am a very good bad example, as I say, in some directions. But that's for another day. But otherwise, as far as the topic for today is concerned, I'm not a bad example. But I may be an inconvenient example. Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. And I hope I've answered Dr. Sabia's question. You gather your stability and your strength by your efforts because they are yours. Gain your credibility by your efforts because they are yours. Intentions are yours. Actions are yours. Words are yours. Those are the only things that you control. Free will is yours. You control your free will. Beyond that, there is fate. Please understand. None of us knows what's going to happen the next moment. Can anybody predict what phone call you might get within the next 5 minutes? None of us can predict that. Please. Okay. You may have your expectations. That's not prediction exactly. So this is where we are as far as the power and politics goes. I talked of a very interesting thing called nobility. And I want you to understand that nobility is the quality of a human being to live for the welfare of others. That person you say is noble. You can list all the people whom you remember to be noble people. Okay. I'm sure you'll find a long list coming. I'm sure given time, you will be able to identify at least 15 to 20 noble people, publicly noble people and privately noble people. Privately means in your family and neighborhood. Noble people, who look for larger good. So this is very important in the game of politics. And we fail very often in the game of politics. I'm going to give you examples again. Okay. What are these examples? Day before yesterday, I was just driving around with some friends. And it's been raining like mad in Chennai over the last 2 days. Many of us are worried whether we'll face a 2015 situation again. Okay. And while driving along the road, I saw the waterlogging and the potholes in many places. I asked a question of in fact, the 3 people with me were students, research scholars. I was asking them a question. Do you guys really believe that our civil engineers and pavement engineers or highways engineers or road engineers do not have the competence to lay good roads? What do you think would have been their answer? I hope you've understood the question. Do you guys believe that our civil engineers or pavement engineers road engineers or highway engineers do not have sufficient competence, knowledge and skills to lay good roads. What would your answer be? Can anyone answer, please? I'm waiting for your answer, please.
Sir, I think they are competent, but because of the politics, their competency is delegated. I mean, they are not able to show the competence.
Sharmila, this is exactly what my student friends told me. So common sense is common in this case. Okay, we can never suspect the competence of our engineers. Never. I'm sure they are very good, competent engineers. The problem, if I zero in on, is with the loss of character in our society. Please, my dear friends, understand, all education leads to competence as an outcome and character as another outcome. Our education system is quite strong in building competence, developing competence, imparting knowledge and skills, which form competence. But our education system, in my critical view, is woefully short, very, very backward in terms of providing very limited, if I may use the term pathetic, in terms of developing, forming, consolidating, and strengthening character of our students, character of our people. And what is character? Character is shown by revealed behavior first. There's no substitute to reveal consistent revealed behavior. We are not talking of instantaneous revealed behavior, because in an instant, in a particular instance, somebody can behave in a particular way, may look very noble, but actually the person may be the Satan himself. You have to be very careful, very, very careful. Okay, but we'll come to this. Okay, we'll come to this. Consistent revealed behavior. And what are the sources of consistent revealed behavior? To your value systems and your habits. So a combination of value systems and habits will reveal the behavior and your character. Okay, so our education system should build competence and character. So very often the bad, ugly, or evil politics, or even good politics that is played in our institutions, is born out of the combination of competence and character. Okay, and please understand, character is defined as meta competence. Competence, to use competence, is character. Okay, that is what we say. For example, did our road engineers, civil engineers use their character to lay good roads? No. As mentioned by Sharmila a little while ago, perhaps their hands were tied. So that means the character goes somewhere else. Are you understanding? They did not have the spunk, they did not have the courage to question somebody, because they were trying to protect their behinds, their future. Okay, but it is exactly this which is bad politics, and this is exactly this which grows like a cancer in our society and will eat our society up one day in the future, someday in the future. My dear friends, this is the story of politics that happens. There's much more which happens also. Lot of politics. I've come across very strange politics, very strange. There is an institution which I'm on the board, some institution. Okay, the secretary of the board has written a complaint to the chairman of the board, stating that there are serious issues with the director of the institution. And the director of the institution stated in the board meeting that he wishes to sit in judgment of that complaint against him. Now, how do you like that, my dear friends? This really happened. This is our country. And this is the country in which MHRD and Government of India are functioning. I wish some MHRD official will take cognizance of this. And I am confident that at the first opportunity, they will remove me from wherever I am.
Sir, I'm sorry to add here that it's not only in MHRM or any other institution, it's also happening in the universities. If the student is complaining against the teacher or the scholar is complaining against the teacher is being placed in the investigation team. Sir,
Sabia, the teacher at best can give evidence. Do you agree?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At best, the teacher can give evidence as much as the complainant can give evidence. But how can the teacher be the judge, the policeman, and the jury?
Committee, sir. Member of the committee, not the judge, but the member of.
I got what you're saying. But in this case, the director is saying, I will judge the complaint against me. How do you like that? I had to point out, boss, this is a conflict of interest. It's unethical. And unfortunately, I even had one board member stand up and say, no, it's very ethical. He is the boss of the institute. He has to take the call. I was stunned by that answer, literally. Okay. And this happens in some of our institutions. Or as Sabia said, but this is sad. Okay. Unethical practices. I'll talk of other types of politics in academia. Today, research has become very, very big. And those of you are teaching management, Sanjay Bhai, you must know this because you're heading the management program in Basaveshwar Engineering College. Okay, Rashmi is there. One of you should hear. You know, we are all going by, is it Scopus indexed? In management, is it ABDC listed? Is it ABS listed? Is it FT50? You know, these are the questions. I want to share something horrific with you. My own son-in-law, who is a teacher in a good institution, shared with me a couple of months ago, very interestingly, that there are A category journals categorized as A in ABDC listing. ABDC is Australian Business Deans Council listing. Okay, categorized as A. Categorized as A. And in that listing, those journals are charging money, levy a fee. Okay. And where does the unethical practice come? If somebody is willing to pay a fee, the chances of their article getting published are increased from 1:25 to 1:5. I hope all of you have understood this. That means my probability of publishing my research increases sharply to 1:5 from 1:25. And my son-in-law has done this background work and has shown me this is what's happening. Okay. I'm very proud that this discovery was made. So even if somebody says I have an A category publication, my dear friends, be very careful. You have to find out whether it was a paid journal or a not paid journal. Because if it's a paid journal, your antennae should go up immediately and try to seek the truth. What was the payment exactly for? All sorts of nonsense is happening in the world of research publications. And I am very hurt that in our country, we are giving prominence to non-Indian journals. I don't know why. I don't know why. Why are UGC and AICTE hell-bent on not respecting ourselves and our journals, our wisdom and our intelligence? Is it that they are seeing their own personalities reflected across the education system? This is a hard question to them. Are you bosses in UGC and AICTE seeing your own personalities reflected across the education system? Do you think everybody is like you? I'm sorry, you're sadly mistaken. Maybe a majority is like you. Not everybody is like you. This is the story. So I think it's time for me to move on and answer some questions if you have. And I hope I have been truthful and transparent to a fault. Okay.
Yes, sir. Very much true.
Sir, it's very much true. Basically, I'm also having the same opinion, but I am the junior most in this fraternity of teaching. So I have the same thinking. I thought it and I discussed it with my seniors also. Why our UGC and AICT is approving foreign journals over Indian journals?
Not approving.
We are having
Sharmila,
quite good number of journals here also, sir.
not approving. They are fully supporting.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Sir,
And
the way we have forgotten our own culture, we are running after Western culture. Same is happening in the field of education and research even. We are not studying in our, means we give preference to those who have studied in foreign universities and all.
What do you do? Tell me. What do you do? Ultimately, do you agree change is in our hands? It is not in America's hands.
Correct, sir, change is in our hand.
And do you agree for this change, conscience has to work?
Yes, sir.
That is exactly the message I want to give you. I think we have to change to become a society that works with conscience for larger good, not for self-good. In fact, the condition of the roads is bad because of somebody in a right position working for self-interest, not for larger good. Now you can connect many things that I have shared with you today.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you very much for your valuable time.
Yeah,
Sir, you have quoted a very relevant example, sir, where everyone can relate to it. And we always try to avoid politics, but unknowingly we are involved in the politics. Now we need to understand whether we are involved in good politics or bad politics.
Rashmi, nobody can get out of politics. Please understand that message.
Sir. Yes, sir.
The question is good, bad, ugly, or evil.
Yes, sir. And we need to understand how it is going to affect the dignity and honor of others while we are working in a team, organization, and even in our families also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely. And thank you for this opportunity, Rashmi. And again, I wish to assure everyone, my intention was not to hurt somebody, but to share the truth of whatever I have know and whatever I have experienced. That is the only intention with which I have stated this. So I can assure you that my intention has been pure. I'm seeking, if possible, large-scale change in our systems. At least let us not betray trust of each other. That is the worst that can happen.
Yes, sir.
That should not happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We agree.
Okay, Rashmi. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah. Is it time now, or have I finished much earlier than what
sir? No, sir. It's okay. If any participants have the questions, then we'll continue, or else we will wind up here.
Yeah, sure.
I will just take one or two questions.
Yeah, I wanted to spend time.
Sir, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, good afternoon.
Who's speaking, please?
Myself, Dr. Manoj Mishra.
Yes, sir, Dr. Manoj, please, sir. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Manoj. Yeah.
I'm having one query, sir.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm audible, sir?
Yes. Manoj, sir, I'm hearing you.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, I'm audible.
Absolutely. Clear, loud.
Sir, I have one query, sir.
Yes.
Like from family to organization.
Yeah.
From family to organization, the politics is omnipresent like God.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is a bit difficult to deal because those people who aren't well versed in politics. So for them to bit difficult to deal with politics. So if there is any tips how we'll tackle this politics, because politics you cannot stop the politics. It is a very natural.
I agree. That's what I was telling. The whole message was nobody can get free of politics. It's impossible. So how to tackle?
So, sir, is there is any ready-made tool? is there any ready-made tool to deal with the politics?
Yeah, there is a tool called truth. Manojji, that is the tool. Satya bolo, bhai. Satya socho. Satya bolo. Satya karo. That's all. You know, that's why even in our national we say Satyameva Jayate. You know? But unfortunately, we are living in a world where the opposite, Asatyameva Jayate, is what is happening now. You know? But anyway,
this is the notion has changed right now.
Yeah, it's Kali Yuga.
Truth is always truth.
Yeah. You know, Gandhiji's three monkeys, no? All of you know Gandhiji's three monkeys. Yes. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. I'm going to change it upside down. See evil, hear about evil, speak about evil to get rid of evil. I hope you got it. This is very important.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Now, how does anyone deal with evil if you don't see it, don't hear about it, don't speak about it? Tell me. It doesn't make sense to me. You can deal with something only when you know about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. कीचड़ को साफ करना है तो हमें कीचड़ में जाना ही पड़ेगा.
Absolutely. सही बताया आपने.
Hello,
एक और बात है बहुत important matter. You know, in our society, I believe in political philosophy where anonymity of a citizen is critical. We have brought anonymity and individual security to the space of the internet, etc., electronic transactions. And that's why we even have this secret ballot system in our voting system in national elections. It's called secret ballot. But why are we unwilling to extend anonymity in all transactions in life? I'll tell you why. Rashmi, you will agree. When a person's identity is protected and there is a guarantee of protection, I'm sure people will be more truthful, Rashmi.
True.
They won't be frightened. Like Sabia was saying, no,
Sure,
there's no threat.
Absolutely right.
We are unfortunately, we are not accepting that. In fact, I would say one of the foundation pillars of a good democracy is anonymity. Another foundation is surprise. Third foundation is group action. They are okay on the group action, and very poor on surprise. Very poor on surprise. And zero on anonymity. So I think somewhere we should uphold the anonymity of an individual citizen and not expose the citizen to threats of life. You know, we should not do that. Okay.
Yes,
Any other point, please?
When we speak the truth, we are victimized most of the time.
Sharmila, you will be. That's why I said you have to strengthen yourself. First, stabilize and strengthen yourself. I could do what I did because I know I was strong. I have been strong. And I'm sure my colleagues in BEC will agree. I'm not a roadside academic, you know. I'm not. I'm not saying others are, don't mistake me. I will never say that, it's wrong. But I'm definitely a different kind of an academic. That much I know.
I have one
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have experienced it.
Sir, I have one observation.
Yes,
sir, you being at this stage, you are open, you are clear. I being at the initial stage of my career, so quite obvious it's not that much possible for me to say and speak as you said. Sir, can you help me out or can you help us out that when there is a politics, how to change that bad politics into a politics or into good politics, we can say. From politics, a politics. There must be something which we can change, which you can share with us. There must be something, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very good. I know this is where unity is strength, Sabia. You have to build forces with like-minded people. And it is possible, very difficult, but you have to strive for that. Because sometimes numbers matter in our society. You know, how do you build numbers matters a lot. May not be possible always. Or the individual has to be so strong to be ready to take the bullshit. I told you, no? Your inner strength should be so high. You say, aane do, theek hai, main samalunga. You know, you should take that kind of a position. That's difficult.
Sir, but we are suffering. We are suffering.
It will hurt.
Yes, sir. And we are being pinpointed in the society. For example, we are being pinpointing that this maybe the teacher is having some flaw, maybe this candidate is having some flaw, because when everybody is going through why not she or why not he, there must be something. Tali to ek haath se nahi bajti hai na. Everybody is saying like that.
Pratik, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's why I said the other approach is to identify like-minded people in your circumstances. Sabia, one thought I can share with you and others also. One lesson which I gathered from our scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, is according to the Gita, Lord Krishna says, if adharma happens in your circumstances, under your nose, and if you are just not doing anything about that adharma, you are an adharmi. This is what Krishna's message is. He is very clear about it. There's no confusion. So if you are unwilling to confront adharma in your circumstances, you become an adharmi.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So that has driven me very, very sharply.
Yes,
but
we are equally part to that. Exactly.
That has very strong repercussions. You will be hurt. I was hurt. I continue to be hurt, but I'm strong enough to bear the hurt, because ultimately I have to live with my conscience, and I'm sure there are Christians here in the group, and in the Bible it says, and the iniquities of the fathers shall be visited upon their children. It's not will be, it is shall be visited upon their. I hope you will agree with that statement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
And we also say in Tamil, we say, Petrorgalin pavangal pillaigalai sarum. That means the bad of the parents will befall the children. I'm sure every language in India has the equivalent thing.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Ultimately, our children will pay the price for the bad that we do.
Exactly.
And if people understand these truths, they might begin to change. I'm not sure how many people will understand these truths and internalize the truths, sufficient enough. I think India can be an absolute world leader if we change. Not the way we are now. Not the way we are.
Thank you, sir.
Correct, sir. If we have followed that principle, we could not have faced the problems like environment pollution, global warming, climate problem and all.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sir. I guess, yeah. Participants, any other questions?
I'm happy that at least Sharmila, Sabia, Archana and Manoj came up at different times, we're interacting.
Sir, in this FTP, even we have experienced, participants are very much interactive. Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Thank you, sir.
Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Thank you.
So I will leave, Rashmi. Please convey my best wishes to all friends.
Sure, sir. Sure,
I'll do that. Sir, Sanjay will also be there. Tell Sanjay and all your families.
Sure, sir. Sure,
I think Mrs. Rao is also there now.
Rao, madam, actually she left, but tomorrow we have her sessions. She'll be engaging on session.
Great. And I think Herkel sir also wishes, comes sometime, isn't it?
So, no, he is actually staying at our department only now. He is a director now.
Yeah, good.
So, please convey my best daily he will be at the campus.
Great.
Sure, sir.
I have very fond memories of the few months I spent in your campus. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. I will leave now. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you all participants. Now we will have a lunch. We will go for a lunch break, and later on we are having the session on managing change, where the resource person is Mr. Mohan Kumar from Wipro. So we'll be starting sharp at 2:30. Now we'll have a lunch break. Thank you everyone.